All right, hi everybody. It is Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. Yeah, we're still plugging along here with the regime change that's going on. Okay, as far as topics for my off planet Tuesdays discussion, I want to talk about two subjects. Uh, One is uh, the moon, really, really interesting story behind that, and then also Mars. So again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. It's just the research that I've been doing. So I'm trying to, from my perspective, kind of get you guys up to speed as far as knowing what I know, or, you know, as things flesh out in the future, we'll see how accurate I am too. But anyway, as far as I know, uh, like what's been going on with NASA in particular, it's basically kind of a disinformation agency, and what they've been doing over the years is they know full well not only is there extraterrestrials out there, so in a sense they're like this company that kind of it's a go-between. It's like they want to make sure that they disseminate the information just as much as they think people can handle on Earth. And again, we're all on this globe being farmed, sort of, and it's like I told you before, it's like a goldfish bowl. They don't want the people that are controlling this scenario don't want us to know too much, because it's like, you know, spooking the flock type of thing, scaring us. So they're trying to make sure that we're under control. Uh, but as far as like the stuff, I mean, the stuff that we're taught in history lessons, man, way off. As we're going to learn as the future rolls out, we're going to find out things are not what they told us. You know, a lot of stuff they're holding back. Anyway, one of the interesting things is about, for instance, Mars. Mars had huge civilization in the past on it, and from all the research I've been doing over the years, um, there was a big battle, big war there, and destroyed a lot of the stuff on the surface of Mars. So what has happened since then, this is probably millions of years ago, but is all the creatures, including humanoid creatures, human beings as well, basically went underground. Um, the surface is still pretty habitable as far as I know. Like it's just, I mean, it gets cold, extremely cold during the nighttime and a little on during the day. So it's colder than Earth, and but there is, I guess, an atmosphere enough that you can breathe. It's difficult, from what I've heard. People that have been there, it's like being on top of a mountain. Like it's really like the oxygen level is really thin, so it's difficult to be out on the surface. So most uh, civilization or anything that lives on Mars is basically beneath the surface, and they don't come to the surface that often. So it's kind of convenient in a lot of ways, because if people are looking through telescopes or whatever, you don't see a lot of activity necessarily on Mars. And it's the same with the moon. The moon is inhabited inside mostly. There is a lot of buildings on the dark side of the moon. We call it the dark side of the moon. Really, all it is just the hidden side of the moon, because it doesn't rotate. It basically always maintains a certain face facing the Earth, so we don't see what's going on the other side. Um, the moon, in particular, is not like a regular moon. It's more of a satellite, and it was brought here. I don't know when exactly, but from what the research I've looked into, it's, well, millions of years ago. And from the latest intel that I've been sort of listening to and looking into, is it seems to be brought here by the reptilians. Um, and from what I've kind of read and also listened to, is the reptilians, when they first started basically traveling, or getting off their, I guess, home planet or whatever, they they would use basically moons or structures like that, and they're hollowed out as far as I know, and they're basically turn those into basically like a starship or basically like kind of a spaceship type of thing. They figured out some sort of propulsion systems, and so my feelings now. I mean, as we get more information in the future, I'll know if I was off or not on this one. But I'm just gonna give you my take on that. Is I think that the moon in particular is one of those old star ships that the reptilians used, and that's why it's really really old. It's older than Earth. It's, as you can see by its all those little craters and pock marks on it and stuff like that. It's been around for a long time, and it's traveled through I don't know how many galaxies. Who knows exactly? Um, but as far as who inhabits the moon right now, I know that um, there's a lot of humans on there as well. There's a lot of human space stations there, and yeah, they're coming and going from there, and that's kind of like a stopover spot. It's also a way of them. It's like an observatory for them to observe Earth, and to kind of watch over us to a certain extent too. Um, but just, I mean, I'm thinking just locally, we're gonna hear about these sooner or late than later, because when they were talking about having a space force, it's basically Trump's administration. Their job, it's quite a huge task that they're undertaking, is there not only it's a regime change, like changing a world slavery system, basically taking advantage of us and giving us our freedom back, but also getting us up to speed. So he has to get past the point where people can start expanding their mind enough to understand that, okay, we could travel to the moon, and like he was talking about going to Mars. That's basically their way of saying, because sooner or later they're gonna tell us, it'll be disclosure, and disclosure, you'll hear that term a lot of different ways, but disclosure was planned back in, I think, as early as the 70s, but the 80s, presidents were told that they should really disclose more of what's been going on in outer space and extraterrestrials, but they keep passing it to the next administration every time. Reagan was going to come clean with it. Bill Clinton was going to come clean, and Jimmy Carter wanted to talk about it. Even the Bushes were going to say something, but the reason why they don't is because it literally is like opening up a whole new can of worms. Because once they go down that road of exposing not only extraterrestrials but off-planet technologies and things like that, space travel, it's open Pandora's box. You won't be able to. The cat will be out of the bag. You will never be able to put it back in again, and they realize that. And they probably ran scenarios. It's like, okay, what if we told them, what would happen? And it's not about us freaking out. I mean, although that will happen too, because it'll change people's perspective a lot. But as you kind of noticed, even the way this year is sort of playing out, people can get up to speed fairly quickly. So we're okay with that. So I mean, for us that kind of have known about this stuff for a while, and I've seen some proof as far as videos and photographs and stuff like that. But again, I'm sort of believing it from a perspective of not necessarily whistleblowers, but basically firsthand testimonies. And I listened to people's, and after a while, you get to be a good judge of people's characters, and you can tell not only body language and stuff too, but if people are telling the truth or not. So for me, it's years of listening to people's firsthand perspective or their experiences, and I'll watch it, and I'll basically be able to say, I'm not sure if this person's telling the truth, or the exact opposite, was just like, wow, this person's not lying. This really did happen. So again, I don't have physical proof right here, and I'm not going to show you some photographs, but there is a lot of evidence out there if you search. And again, I'm here to more just generalize with you guys, kind of help point you guys in the right direction. I mean, like I said, I've got stacks of notes over the years, of the notes that I've looked at, and I look up different subjects and different people that have different. There's a lot of books out there too, by the way, a lot of books on this subject. But I guess it's a matter of like, tweaking your imagination, or inspiring you to look in that direction. But what's been happening over the last, this is kind of a modern thing in the 20th century for sure, is our controllers have found ways to keep us distracted and really, really busy, so we don't have downtime like we do now, to be able to spend time to do research. And it's been by no mistake. It's planned this way, especially the distraction industry. Like sports, movies, things like that. They know us all too well. We want to first of all, keep us really, really super busy. So we always have to try to make ends meet. And as we know, they've been in control of the financial system. So again, it's that they're keeping us financially strapped constantly. So we're constantly have to work overtime, whatever, trying to make ends meet, barely get out of debt. So whenever we have some spare time, what do? We watch sports or a movie or something. Nobody really has the time, unless you really go out of your way, to research a subject. And also, they're not going to necessarily make it easy for you, although they started to, because they realized there is a very soft disclosure that's been coming out, and mostly through, for instance, Discovery or the History Channel with, Ancient Aliens. They're really trying to get us up to speed with that. It's a great series because it's that soft version of tweaking people's imagination, going, what if, man has been visited by extraterrestrials and from other planets, and they've interfered or helped us in our growth and all stuff. But it's a great way of doing it. There's a lot of truth to that stuff. So again, I'm just kind of pointing you in the right direction again, saying from my experience of my research, yeah, for sure, we already have bases on Mars and on the Moon in particular, and also other places as well. But this will all start coming out more and more as time goes on. So as far as my off-planet Tuesdays topic, so mostly I'd suggest start to look into stories about people, on Mars colonies and things like that. You can look up. There's a lot of people that have come forward with their information that they were involved in the 20. It's called 20 and Back, which is they were basically, in a sense, kind of kidnapped when they were young children, and they were taken into the secret space program, they were taught to do a lot of different things, whether it's industrial things or military things, working on the Moon as well as Mars. And then they basically would bring them back. I know this is far-fetched, hard to understand, but then they reverse engineer them, put them back into their human body, their consciousness, and then they live their life again. So it's, in a sense, it's like almost like stealing their consciousness and using it for a while and then bringing them back as if nothing happened. Well, these people have been waking up and they've been telling their stories. And like, again, I always kind of look at not only people's body language or whatever, the look in their eyes, but basically, if you listen to a lot of these stories, and a lot of them are pretty darn convincing. And there is a few people out there that are trying to be misleading and things. You have to be careful of. You can't believe everything, including me. But I'm just saying, after a while, you get to get this honest meter going on. You start realizing, wow, this person's being honest. So keep searching in that direction, and lots of stuff. I think there's going to be lots of stuff happening in September, and I think there's going to be more disclosures. It's already starting with the disclosure of, even, for instance, this flu thing going on. They're starting to come clean that they've been, padding the numbers and things like that. So, but I think there's going to be a lot more going on. But again, I'll make another video on Thursday more about what I think is going to be coming soon as far as political and kind of an earth situation we're in right now. In the end, we're going to win this battle, and I'm still staying positive because there's a lot of good things coming. So, okay, I'll make another video on Thursday, and have a good week, and have a good, really great